Hello, people, my invisible friends that aren't here yet. It is the first day of October, and it's just about 2:45. And let's see, live chat. It's Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday, you guys. That's pretty effing cool. Wow. So, yeah, I've known about this for a while because, the ceremonial guards of the Navy are basically on standby and have been for many moons. So it didn't look like he was going to make it to his 100th birthday, I don't think. But here we are. We're right there on his 100th birthday. So happy birthday to Jimmy Carter, and sad his first birthday in probably, I don't know, about 80 years, his first one without his wife. She died this last year, and I think they got married young. Anyway, how are you guys? If you're watching on the replay, since I don't think anybody's here yet. And I just wanted to come on and touch on a couple of these cases because, and you guys are probably watching the P. Diddy live press conference right now that I had been watching right up until I turned on the live stream play button. So, wow, they had about 1,000 more complainants come forward. The lawyer that was speaking had decided to represent about 120 of these, and most of them are in California, I believe. 60 of them are women, 60 of them are men. Holy smokes, you guys. You know how sometimes I say that there's a very, very, very slim outside chance that our dear Kylie Rodney could be captive in a P. Diddy dungeon? Oh, and everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. And please hit your like button on the way in if you'd be so kind. So it sounds like, in my opinion, what may have happened to Kylie Rodney is very similar to what many of these plaintiffs are alleging happened to them with spiked drinks and Coca-Cola along with horse tranquilizer. It just makes my stomach turn. It really does. I mean, essays are heinous. They're hideous. I wanted to share with you guys because this to me was extremely striking from when I did a Capote deep dive and saw both of the In Cold Blood movies, read the book. That story, which is a true story of two ex-cons that blew away a family of 4. Perry is the one that was kind of the mastermind and played by Robert Blake. I think he was like 17 in the movie. And he did a very good job. Hey, Anna Bees, nice to see you. Thanks for saying hi there. So one of the things that Perry said and felt that has always stuck with me from the In Cold Blood and from Truman Capote's relaying of the story is that as messed up as Perry was, he had no tolerance for people who couldn't control themselves physically when it came to their sex drive. He thought it was the most disgusting thing in the world. And I think that that's true. I mean, he's one to judge from what he participated in that terrible night. I think it was like 1956 or 1959 in Kansas. Very, very sad. Puffy got a pregnant lady on baby oil, rubbed it in, and went to sleep. She woke up the next day, both lady parts tore right, and the not so lady part. Yeah, I was watching that. Thank you, Astro from Space. So devastating. So P. Diddy is accused of some of the most heinous crimes, and this is nothing new. I mean, it's been like a big joke to many people for a long time, and it's not a joke. I mean, until it happens to you, right, or your child. I'm also wondering how closely parallel the whole P. Diddy allegations are with the what I called the hillbilly eldgey in the backwoods of Kentucky. What's going on there? So there was a presser, or actually not a presser, but a preliminary hearing on that case right before the P. Diddy presser. So I was watching both of them on Surviving the Survivor, and I'm a brand new sub today. I know I've heard other people say great things about that channel. I'll put links to both of those in the description for anybody who didn't catch them. But I was already on to this whole baby oil thing, you guys. So, you know, the 1,000+ bottles of baby oil that were confiscated that are said to have belonged to P. Diddy. And people have been, again, making jokes and, you know, just like baffled trying to figure out, like, what would anybody want with 1,000 bottles of baby oil? So I Googled it. You know how I am with Google. Like, you can believe some of the stuff that you find on Google and not other stuff. But I want to read you the article that I found that I think is very credible. It's actually months old. Come on, phone. My phone has been acting really weird. It's not doing the Face ID, and it's not allowing me the, there it goes with the numbers. Yeah, I need to take it in and get it looked at. So I'm going to read you this quick article, and the title of it is Thousands of Liters of Date Ape with an R rug Butte, B-U-T-E, found concealed in body oil bottles in Sydney. This is from ABC News. And the date ape rug concealed as bottles of baby oil from China, as federal police warn boot importers will face heavy penalties. Again, this is ABC News. This is from May of this year. So this doesn't, you know, it's not about Diddy. This is about other stuff. Police have seized more than 4,000 liters of the date ape rug Butte in Sydney since it became a border-controlled substance in March. The rug was concealed in bottles of baby oil and essence. Police are warning those who import the rug could face life in prison. The Australian Federal Police have confiscated more than 4,000 liters of a date ape rug, commonly known as Butte, or however you say B-U-T-E, in Sydney, since legislation came into effect in March controlling its import. The industrial solvent slows down the functioning of a person's nervous system when ingested and is commonly used as a substitute for GHB. We all know what GHB is, right? It used to be called a Spanish fly. It has been linked to a number of essays and overdoses across the country. So they seized 4,200 liters in Sydney in less than 3 months. Just 7 days after the new laws came into effect, police found that almost 180 liters of the rug concealed in bottles of body oil in a shipment from China. A further 1,000 liters was found in the Sydney suburbs of Fairfield and Lidcombe. I'm not sure, Lidcombe. And 960 liters was later found concealed in bottles labeled as essence oil. AFP Eastern Commander Kate Ferry said the rug is becoming increasingly popular. Again, this is from just a few months ago, this year, ABC. The concerns of law enforcement agencies are rising because of reports Butte is being increasingly linked to SAs as well as overdoses, Commander Ferry said. Our message to the community is to stop taking this rug, stop creating this international demand, stop supporting criminal groups who seek to profit from the pain of others. That's a lot to think about, that people are making this knowing not only can it be deadly, but people are going to get essayed. An importation of 660 liters of the rug was seized in May after the recipient came forward when they became aware of the change in legislation. Well, good for them. Butte can be legally imported into Australia for legitimate industrial use by importers that are registered with the Australian Industrial Chemicals Introduction Scheme. Can you believe that? So it can still be legally purchased. The maximum penalty for importing the rug without a license is life imprisonment. The change in legislation, which redefined Butte as a border-controlled rug, means those convicted of importing it will face a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. Australian Border Force, the AFB, acting commander Asha Padwardhan, sorry, hacked up the name, said Border Force agents are detecting imports of Butte every day. Our Border Force officers are observing individuals and criminal syndicates attempting to import Butte in concerning volumes, acting commander said. I'm not going to try the name again. Pat Warden, but it's all one word. Okay, there. I think that's it. Not as difficult as I made it. Okay, Butte can be described as a dual-use substance, which is defined as a substance with legitimate industry use. Like, what in the heck is the legitimate industry use? Like, unless it's, like the horse tranquilizer. But is also commonly used as an illicit substance or precursor. The substance is often concealed in varying ways, but AFB officers are seeing Butte hidden within body oils, face masks, or food products. The misuse of the substance can prove fatal, and those in the community need to be aware of the dangers. So essentially, it's an oil, and so putting it in cooking oil bottles or baby oil bottles, and maybe it's a clear oil, I don't know. If it's clear, then certainly you can put different food coloring in it or substance to make it a different color. If you want to make it like yellowish to resemble canola oil or greenish to resemble olive oil. But is that wild? And again, I will put a link to that article in the description too. So it's already 3:00. I don't have a lot of time, which is why I've got the pressured speech. I really wanted to come on and talk to you guys. There's a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. Where to begin? Where we left off. Thanks so much for being here, you guys, and thanks for everybody watching on the replay. Please make sure you're not inadvertently unsubscribed. And if you are not subscribed, please consider just hitting that button. It helps a lot. Share a video of mine if you like it and you think you know someone else who might like my channel, and turn on your notification bell to ring if you'd like to be notified when I come on. So one of the other things that I had been thinking about before coming across that article, I want to say I just came across that article this morning. Again, my Google A habit, I love to Google and just fish basically and see what I find. Like, that was one article in one of my Googles that was probably something like baby oil and maybe date ape rug or something like that. And all the other search results were completely different. That one stood out to me. And I was just like, wow, how did I never come across this? And it was interesting too, because this is right after I had found a bunch of stuff doing other Google searches that people are calling folks on TikTok who are figuring out or questioning if all the baby oil that Sean Combs was busted with, if that could be for the assaults. And they were being called conspiracy theorists, you guys. Like it's a big conspiracy theory. No, it's a big conspiracy with Puff Daddy and his friends. And some of these friends are female. And we know who I'm referring to, who carried his pew pew for him into a bar 20 years ago. And she's shaking in her boots. A lot of people are shaking in their boots right now. And if you didn't do anything wrong, you need not be shaking in your boots, right? But if you got successful through P. Diddy, you probably did some things wrong, because as we have been hearing, if you didn't comply, you were out. There was no option. You would get kicked out. Or if you tried to run and leave, that's what was going on with Cassie when P. Diddy chased her in the towel at the hotel and beat the tar out of her in the hallway. And then he paid people to disappear that surveillance video. And then fortunately it resurfaced, because if it hadn't, then it's all hearsay. It's he said, she said. It's insane, isn't it? So one of the things that I had been thinking about with the baby oil is that when baby oil aspirates in your lungs, it'll suffocate you. And there's nothing that doctors or EMTs can do to save your life once you breathe it in and it, becomes like a mist in your lungs. It basically covers the tissue so you can't breathe, and there's nothing they can do to get in there to clean it out. I remember that from a really tragic story of a little baby passing away from playing with a bottle of baby oil, that the parents didn't know how dangerous that could be. And so the baby oil causes a kind of pneumonia. And then I was looking at some stuff online and thinking about Kim Porter, we know, allegedly passed away from some kind of pneumonia, as did Brittany Murphy and her husband, months apart, or maybe like a year apart, passed away from some type of pneumonia. These three people have many things in common. One of those things is P. Diddy. Another one of those things is the same coroner. And another one of those things is that none of them got medical treatment for asthma or pneumonia, which if you're having trouble breathing, you're probably going to talk to a physician about it or show up in an ER or something at some point. So it's called lipoid pneumonia. Lipoid pneumonia. But I don't know on in a medical examiner's report or the autopsy if they even use that adjective type of word, lipoid, or they just leave it off and just go with the pneumonia. So I do want to say that facts and opinions are not defamation. Sandra Linkford, you are on it. You're so sweet, my dear. Oh, and this sad situation with the hurricane, and I know you weren't hit so hard, the path that it took and its toll on lives claimed just keeps climbing. It's already over 130 the last time I checked today. And every time I check, it's gone up. And I think there's hundreds of people that are still unaccounted for. So this is probably the worst hurricane in our country in maybe 100 years. I saw somewhere one article where it said it's the worst one in 124 years, but that was talking about that specific area of, the Big Bend in Florida where it hit land. So it had been a Category 5 before it hit land at a Category 4. And I want to say that it maintained being a Category 4 like 4 states in, right? So Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and then we get to Kentucky, okay? And I want to talk about that case too, because Kentucky, where the sheriff shot the judge and they just had a preliminary hearing. And I want to give my opinion of that preliminary hearing. It was kind of a joke. The man or the mouse who was in charge of the investigation was being a weasel with his information. So it's my guess that he's protecting that sheriff. But who knows about this judge? It sounds like this judge could potentially be like another P. Diddy, another person abusing the power. And it was the exact same chambers where that deputy that had been fired assaulted those women. Okay, I want to throw some facts and figures out here. Anybody who needs legal representation to any assaults that have anything to do with anything like that P. Diddy situation are encouraged to call the attorneys that are representing this new group of 120 people that just filed charges. And I'm going to put that number in my description. It's, if somebody wants to type it into the chat too, it's 1-800-200-7474. 1-800-200-7474. So they said they had 3,000 people come forward in the last 10 days. I think I said 1,000 earlier, but I have 3,000 written down here. Okay, maybe they've only had a chance to interview 1,000 of the 3,000, so they still have 2 more thousand to interview. I think that's what it is. So they've decided of that 1,000 that they interviewed to take on 120 of those cases that they think they have enough hard evidence for. And 60 of those plaintiffs are men, 60 of them are women, to repeat that. You know, again, going back to Cat Williams in his January interview with Shannon, what's his last name? You guys know, Club Shay Shay. I don't follow football. Anyway, the football dude, Club Shay Shay, Shannon Stout, is that his name? I'm not going to Google it. Anyway, what was I saying? That Cat Williams' prediction was that all of these people doing this kind of stuff, and he did name P. Diddy by name, that this was the year that they were all going to get busted. And I don't know what information Cat had, or if he was making some kind of like psychic prediction or astrological prediction. I've heard other people make those types of predictions, but my guess is that Cat probably had some inside information. These things don't happen out of the blue. When they happen, there's a lot going on behind the scenes for a long time. So my guess is that Cat had some insider information. But what I want to say about essays and why I think that they assault all of us, whether we've ever been assaulted or not. I mean, I just get this feeling in my chest, is that my solar plexus? And I just want to hurl. In some cultures, it's considered an incomplete red room, and the punishment is worse than actual red room. And I really believe that, because these people are left with the wreckage of their lives to move forward with. And in situations where they've been rugged and they don't know what happened to themselves, I'd like to say it's really hard to heal and recover from something when you don't know what it is that you're healing and recovering from. It's almost impossible. I mean, seriously, for anybody out there who's been through something like that, my heart goes out to you. So less than 20% of essays are reported. 5% of, I think it's 5% of the number that are reported that are prosecuted, but maybe it's 5% of all of them are prosecuted. Either way, then it jumps down to less than 1% are punished in the court of law. So even if that's less than 1% of all of them, but it could be that it's less percent, 1%, less than 1%. Sorry, I can't talk. Less than 1% of the 5% that are prosecuted. But again, plug that into DA Rourke's equation. If you're not familiar with the Watts case well enough to know that DA Rourke was the prosecuting attorney, still is the prosecuting attorney in Weld County, who is married to a victim that he represented. She was held hostage and tortured and essayed when she was about 21 in college in her own room in her own apartment. He represented her in a court of law, and then they went their separate ways. Their story is that then they met up 10 years later after she'd already been married and had kids. I don't know about him. But then they got married, and they've been married ever since. And then they made a YouTube channel together, and they think they are like the cat's pajamas. Like they think they know so much more than the rest of us. When first of all, to me, they're both completely out of line to have met that way. And that's just the story that they're willing to tell. So who knows what the real story is, but that's how he met his wife. He was representing her in this terrible, violent assault and basically kidnapping, imprisonment, the hostage, torture, all of that. And her perpetrator, I think, was sentenced to the maximum punishment that was like 24 years. But when you plug that into how many assaults of that nature are reported, 20%, 5% that are prosecuted, and less than 1% that are punished by law. And then we know, like in this situation with the sheriff's deputy that was found guilty, he got sentenced to 6 months in prison and then 7 years probation. So how awful is that for the victim to go through the whole disgusting process of having all of this out there in the legal system? They win the case only to get spit in the eye that their perp is going to have to serve a whole 6 months. And if they've already been held behind bars while, all this has been going on, then maybe they're sprung after the trial if more than 6 months has passed already. Disgusting. So my question about the sheriff and the judge is if the judge was aware of what that deputy had been doing in his chambers, the same chambers that the sheriff pew-pewed him in. So there's a lot of rumors swirling around about that judge and the sheriff's 17-year-old daughter. So we've all heard about how they had their cell phones, and there was a little bit more detail in the preliminary hearing about that the cell phones, the sheriff was looking at his own cell phone. He asked for the judge's cell phone. He looked at the judge's cell phone, and then he pew-pewed him. And it said in the preliminary hearing that there was something on the judge's phone from the sheriff's 17-year-old daughter, and that the judge had the 17-year-old daughter's phone number in his phone. So I'm going to guess that there's something going on there. But then the douchebag who was in charge of this case said that nobody had confiscated the 17-year-old daughter's phone. What? Maybe they could just download stuff from the cloud. I don't know. He was like talking out of his rear end. He said a lot of crazy things. So we're at 3:15, and let me see what you guys have been saying. I have a home in Virginia. My husband and I have been slowly moving to, and I am not sure if we had any issues it's in the track of the North Carolina and Virginia hit, praying we're west enough. Huh. Yeah. Yeah, that path, I mean, it just tears straight up through the bend of Florida and Georgia, and then Tennessee, North Carolina. I guess Virginia is right there, and then Kentucky. And then we got hit with the tail end of it over the weekend. I mean, we've had a ton of cleanup here, and I mean, I would barely even call it a hurricane compared to what those other states suffered. And it might have had 75-mile-an-hour winds by the time it hit this area of Ohio. So it might have still registered as like a Category 3 hurricane. But it was nothing compared to what you're seeing in these other states with the flooding and the fatalities and the mess, the mayhem. Oh, so let me just slow down and calm down and connect with my people for a minute before I have to wrap up. So like I said, there's been a ton of cleanup. You know, I'm extremely busy. I want to come on and do my lives with you guys every single day. And I try. That's how I keep myself going, is I lie to myself and say, well, I'm definitely going to get one done today. So at least we have this, because I don't think I've done one since Saturday. So it's Tuesday. So I skipped 2 whole days, and I don't like that at all. I really don't. There's so much that I like to talk with you guys about. And you guys are great with your information. You're great with informing me. You know, I feel like I'm just sharing my opinion about the things that I see in the news, most of it on YouTube. You know, a lot of it is from mainstream media. A lot of it is from smaller channels. You know, I like the smaller channels. But some of the big channels are super good too. Man, and I keep finding more and more channels. I mean, I like to be very selective about who I watch and what I subject my brain to, because I just think there's so many wingnuts in any profession, if you want to call content creating a profession, which it is. I mean, some of the content creators are raking in 6 figures and more for sure. I'm still pending on my first $100 payment. That's my status. I'll keep you guys abreast. Like I said, I'll believe it when I see it, but it sure would be nice to get that first payment and just, you know, break through that glass ceiling and see what happens with the rest of it. I'm so happy to be a content creator on this platform and to have the small channel that I have, and I couldn't have it without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And you guys have really like educated me on how to proceed with my channel when I first started a couple of years ago. You know, I got my my start on YouTube by being a guest on Kelly from What's the Obsessions channel. She was extremely generous in being a mentor and giving me that experience and training. So, you know, I will forever feel indebted to her and Plunder. Plunder was the one who recommended that I try having my own channel, and I thought that was a little cray-cray, or a lot cray-cray. But I do like to go back to that and just acknowledge those 2 women, because they both have remarkable channels. They're very different. You know, Kelly does a lot of lives, and Paula, I don't think she's ever done a live. She's kind of the queen of the public records requests, and you just got to give it to her. She knows how to suss out the information. She learns about these cases, it seems like the second that they happen, and then she's already got her public records request in like same day that she learns about a new case. She's way ahead of the rest of the game. And you know, it's really sad that anybody would try to steal anyone's thunder. And like I always say, imitation is the highest compliment, but it does stink when you're busting your rear end and people are snatching your ideas and not giving you credit. And just a shout out. And I know that a lot of content creators have that issue. I try to just set it aside and just not worry about it. I try to stay out of all the riffraff and tit for tat and everything. Sandra says, I have thought he knew. So you had thought that the judge knew about what the deputy was doing in his office? Well, apparently there's surveillance camera in the judge's chamber, which is interesting because there's surveillance of the pew-pewing, and there's no audio on it, but maybe there was surveillance camera in there so that they could distribute it. I mentioned in one of my last videos, I don't think any of these crimes happen without videotaping them. We know P. Diddy, that's what they raided his homes for, was the electronic data, the footage. That's what took down R. Kelly. Oh, I just thought how similar their names are. You got an initial and then the consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel. Huh. P. Diddy, R. Kelly. So, yeah, months ago when P. Diddy got arrested, when his place got raided, when his places got raided earlier this year, I caught up and educated myself on the whole Surviving R. Kelly series, which I highly recommend. It's very educational. Shannon Sharp, that's Club Shay Shay. You guys knew that, right? Anyway, I'm always so happy when my brain is functioning. So yeah, I've still been under the weather a little bit with the vertigo. It's getting better and better, but all the rain here has helped tremendously. There's a lot of cleanup that still needs to happen, and I'm just trying to take it easy. So I try not to push myself too hard with getting my content underway, which is one of my top priorities. But my other top priority, of course, is my family and, the work that actually pays me real money that I can pay my bills with, and the yoga. I mean, I've got to take care of myself. So yeah, it's a lot of competition, which is why I'm really hoping to get this YouTube content creation to be profitable financially so that I can continue to prioritize it, because it fascinates me and it motivates me. I feel like it keeps me sharp. I've always liked the news a lot. I've always liked nonfiction better than fiction. And I love sharing my opinion about the cases that I try to stay abreast of. And then I love sharing the information and getting the information from you guys that I'm missing because channels I don't watch or just something that I missed. And that's always extraordinary. So one of the other cases that more and more disgusting information is coming out about, and I did do a live with Watsy Obsession. I was on her panel the other night with a Madeline Soto case, you guys. She had invited me to join her on the panel. I told her I didn't know a lot about the case, that I'd been avoiding it. And it seems like I'm not the only one. It seems like she kind of had the same attitude, and that a lot of the people in the chat kind of had the same attitude, that all of us, the whole case has just made us want to vomit from jump. And the more we hear, the more we just don't even want to look at that train wreck. And then it gets to this point where not only as a service to poor little Madeline Soto, but as a service to all the other kids, all the other victims, because Stephen Stearns had over 30,000 images on his phone that law enforcement got a hold of. Disgusting images. I don't know how many thousands of those were actually Maddie in the most disgusting, unthinkable scenes. Obviously, he was selling those, you guys. People that do the CP thing are always part of the ring. And there's a lot, I'll just say it, there's a lot of lawyers that are part of the ring. So they know how to protect themselves. And they go to places like Thailand where it's not illegal. And they try to change the laws in our country. You know, I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. But one of Diddy's victims was as young as 9 years old when they were victimized. I can't remember if that was a male or a female, but at any age, it doesn't matter if you're older than your perpetrator. I mean, it's heinous, it's hideous. And, you know, honestly, I would just vote for castration. Yeah, I said it. I've always been real old school, you know, just take them out back and take them out of their misery. And I'm thinking that that's kind of what the sheriff was probably doing by making himself the judge, the jury, and the executioner with the judge, because he probably knew that the judge was untouchable. These people that are untouchable know they're untouchable. P. Diddy was untouchable for a long time, and for all we know, he might still be. I mean, I don't think he'll get away with it because it's a federal charge. The feds win 95% of their cases, but that means that there are a handful that they don't win. And God forbid that he be one of them. And all of the people that were involved with his crime ring. And these crime rings, it seems, are getting exposed and getting taken down. And the year is 2024, and that's what Cat Williams and other people have said, is that this is the year of corruption ending. So, you know, the corruption in the entertainment industry, the corruption in law enforcement, and they certainly intersect. They absolutely intersect. And we know that Kylie Rodney was in the entertainment industry. And we also know that there was a lot of children of law enforcement at the alleged party. And that the sheriff whose jurisdiction took the initial missing persons call had his own heinous history, not only with exploiting a 16-year-old explorer in his role as a deputy, but he also knocked her up and forced her to terminate that. And all of that was documented. And then not only was he still elected sheriff, he still is the sitting sheriff. And then I don't even think it was a month after he was sworn in. I literally think it was 8 days after he was sworn in. The earliest or the latest, it was like June 26th July. It was July 26th or July 28th that he was sworn in to be the sheriff of Placer County. And then August 6th was the day that Kylie was reported missing. And one more thought before I hang up and wrap up is that photograph, the last proof of life that a lot of us believe is Scammy Smith, not Kylie Rodney, from the East Side Deli or whatever the camping RV park convenience store is called. That photograph is time stamped, or the surveillance, it's a still shot of a surveillance that's time stamped at roughly 6 o'clock on August 5th, I think, Friday night. And then August 6th was what they say is the date of her reported missing, because it wasn't until morning that she was reported. But it was August 5th is allegedly the last day, except that they say Scammy says that she saw her after midnight slightly. So Again, just trying to throw off the time frame. And then by saying that that time stamped image is her at 6 o'clock on Friday night, throws the whole chronological sequence of events off in the event that things had happened with Kylie or to Kylie prior to that, which a lot of us believe, and I certainly believe. But that's why they used that photograph, in my opinion, from 6 o'clock Friday night that wasn't her, and said that it was her, to try to say, see, look, she's still walking around, and see her phone. The location wasn't turned off until 12:33 that Saturday morning. So we know that she was not the one to turn her freaking location off. I mean, why would she do that? Her parents knew where she was, and oh, head spinning. Okay. It's 3:31. I better wrap it up, sign off. I get very behind. I had a phone call. Oh, hey, Annabes. Thank you for being here, you guys. It's just a quick, short live today. I truly hope, fingers crossed, that I'll be able to do lives each day for the rest of this week. Especially, there's so much material to cover. But you have my commitment that I will do as many as I possibly can. I used to do more than one a day when I was able. And I'd like to even get back to that, but at least one a day for sure. Yes, she already passed, probably, and they probably had a weekend at Bernie's thing going on. Well, and maybe she wasn't passed, but she was incapacitated. Maybe she had baby oil stuff in her system, and yeah. And trigger warning, and I apologize. I know there are people who get very offended by that opinion, but I think it's almost impossible that isn't the case, in my opinion. I mean, and I think it ties directly in with the freaking leadership of the law enforcement, you guys. I mean, hopefully this big takedown will be a lot of the corruption, a lot of this backwoods hillbilly eldgey kind of crapola. I mean, don't we have enough going on just having to fight against Mother Nature? Give me a break, man. These people need to control themselves. And if they can't, then I recommend castration. Yes, I said it. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, it's just unreal. And like I said, there are countries where the punishment for that type of intimate, personal assault is, the punishment is more severe than for a red rum, because it's considered an incomplete red rum, and really like a red rum of the soul. So on that, thanks for being here, you guys. Keep fighting for justice. I will keep doing that myself. Tonight is the vice presidential debate. Should be interesting. I just hope nobody brings up anything about cats or dogs, please. Enough of that. Enough of that. I'm very concerned about a recurrence of the whole Springfield thing. I try to not bring it up because I don't want to, speak of the devil and then the devil shall appear. I hope you feel better, Jess. Thank you, Annabes. Yes, when I have good days, I can do my videos. And so like I had a couple of good days in a row, and then I have a down day, not so good. But even the days that aren't so good, I'm still okay. I'm fairly functional, and I can do my yoga. So, I can do some of the cleanup. I can take care of the family and get some of the work accomplished that does pay the bills. So that is always important. But the most important thing is that we take care of ourselves. So hopefully you guys are all able to do that. Put yourself first. Make sure you're getting your nutrition, your rest, your hydration, your exercise, your peace. Be kind to yourself, kind to others. And like I said, just keep fighting the good fight. I hope you have a very blessed rest of your day. Happy October. Again, happy birthday to Mr. Jimmy Carter. He is probably my favorite president of my lifetime, probably by a long shot, I'm going to say. I mean, what a cool guy with all of his Habitat for Humanity stuff. What a great freaking example of leadership and the male species, right? I've been having dizziness at times too. Oh, I'm sorry, Anna Bees. Like dizziness with vertigo or with something else, because the dry air is what really did a number on my ear membranes. So that's what the dryness. I mean, we had a huge drought here. Again, it was like the worst in about 100 years, I think, or one of the three worst seasons in the last 100 years. And thank goodness that we had the hurricane come through and that it was weak by the time it got here. So the vertigo, Annabes, do you do the Epley maneuver or other things? I am 2 weeks out from seeing a specialist who will be helping me with some things like that. But in the meantime, I pretty much just have to take the Zofran around the clock and just really take care of myself and not push myself too hard. Yes, I've been doing that. Yeah, the Epley maneuver is cool. For anybody who doesn't know what it is, you can just Google it and be careful with it, because if you have vertigo and you do it right, it can actually make you throw up. But it's a really cool little maneuver, and it's just fascinating, the whole thing with the inner ears. So peace out, love and light. Thanks again, you guys, and hopefully I will see you mañana. And at least the one thing we can all be grateful for is that I'm not doing any more yoga videos at the time. For the moment, that's a good break, right?